What is your trading mindset? Most new traders, when they begin with trading, are ever intently and ever focused on finding that next profitable setup, or those next set of indicators that will get you in at the bottom of a price movement and take you at the top. And unfortunately, most traders, their journey begins and ends there. Now, for a smaller subset of traders, they come to the realization that yes, it's important to have a net positive expectancy system, but just as important is to have a sound methodology for trading. That is, having strong rules in place pertaining to risk management and money management. And then lastly, the traders who are the most successful, who've come the farthest along on their journey, have come to the realization that just as important as having a profitable trading system and a powerful set of rules in terms of a methodology is to have mastery of one's trading mindset. That is the psychological approach to trading. Without a developed trading mindset, neither a profitable trading system or a solid methodology will make you any money in the long run. Now, as I've started to work more and more with traders, I come to see that the psychological aspect of trading is the most underdeveloped for most traders. It's of course the least sexy. It's the least tangible that can be identified, tracked, and monitored. The P&L, the setups can all be tracked, measured, and back tested. The trading mindset, one's psychology, is only developed through deep inner work. So what I want to do today is understand that most traders, unfortunately, have not invested in coaching or don't have coaches. So the development of their trading mindset is a sole effort that has to be done on one's own accordance. So what I want to share today is a framework that has helped me understand my psychological strengths and weaknesses. And I want to share this with you so that you can begin your own journey around working on your own levels of self-awareness. I'm going to share with you that framework, and I'm going to share with you a couple of techniques that you can employ today to begin to impact your trading. Now, everything I shared with you today, I want you to take with a grain of salt. In fact, don't believe anything I say whatsoever. Please listen to what I'm going to share with you, but spend the time and see what resonates most with you. At the end of the day, we're all on our own journeys when it comes to trading. So you will need to do your own inner work to find out what works for you. What works for you based upon your own beliefs and your own mindsets and your own emotions. What I hope today to give you is some ideas and some tools that will help ignite your passion to explore this aspect of your trading further. Let's begin with a great quote from Robert Koppel in his book, The Intuitive Trader. Successful trading begins and ends with self-awareness. And why do I believe that? Well, let's take a thought experiment for a second. If we were to give two traders the exact same trading system, and let's assume this trading system has a net positive expectancy, and that simply means that given enough trades that the system is expected to yield a profit. If we were to give this system to two traders, we would expect to see two wildly different results. And why is that? We don't have to look far to actually find a real life example of this. There's the very famous, now famous experiment done by Richard Dennis and his turtles, where Richard Dennis made a bet with William Eckerd on whether or not he could teach people to be traders, or whether trading was some sort of innate skill that could not be taught. They recruited a bunch of traders. Some had no background in trading whatsoever, and some of the traders took this system and made tens of millions of dollars. And yet, some of the other traders who had the exact same system traded that system into the ground. Why is that? Why did they get such different results? I believe the answer is in the execution, specifically personal execution. Our execution of a trading system, of our trading plan, is ultimately influenced by four powerful factors: our emotions, our mindset, any cognitive biases we may carry, as well as any limiting beliefs we may have about ourselves. Emotions are very familiar to most traders. The emotion of fear, hope, and greed can make us all react in a way that is against our true intentions. Our mindset can be severely severely damage our accounts if we carry a fear-based mindset. For instance, if I have a fear-based mindset to losing, because I don't want to lose, because I don't want it to hurt my ego, because I want to show everyone in the world that I'm successful, then I may not take the stops I'm supposed to take because I don't want to show that I'm wrong. Now, do this enough times and you're going to find yourself in a trade that goes really far against you and takes you out of trading. Likewise, if I have a fear-based mindset around uncertainty and I don't like the feeling of uncertainty, then how that may manifest is in a trader who takes their winners off too quickly. So instead of letting their winners ride, they can't handle it and close off those winners for small profits. Now, there's nothing wrong with small profits, but that's like dying to death of 1,000 cuts. This trader will ultimately have a portfolio that's not growing or maybe even shrinking because his winners are simply not offsetting his losers. As for cognitive biases, there have been identified over 100 cognitive biases. And there's a great book by Rolf Dobelli named The Art of Thinking Clearly, where he goes through 99 very common cognitive biases that afflict investors and traders alike. Biases like confirmation bias, or hindsight bias, or even self-attribution bias, where a trader is quick to take credit for all of his successes, but quick to lay blame for his failures on external factors. That may feel good to do that, to take all the credit when things are going well, but when things go badly, and you believe that those are caused by external factors, then you actually never get to learn the lesson. Because you're too quickly playing the victim, or too quickly assigning blame to things outside of your control, or what you perceive to be outside your control. And lastly, limiting beliefs. We all carry limiting beliefs. These are beliefs that we have created for ourselves since childhood or early adulthood. And if you carry a limiting belief with you in your trading, it will act as a natural glass ceiling. But the thing is that most of us have conditioned ourselves to avoid or run away from uncomfortable feelings or emotions or beliefs. And that's the hard part of trading, is that in trading, you can't run away from those fears, or they will chase you. and manifest themselves in your trading in the form of bad habits, bad trades, mistakes, or just the general inability for you to properly follow or manage your trade plan. So in trading, what we end up doing is that we trade our psychology. And that's the goal. The goal is to have a powerful awareness around our own mindsets so that we can better improve our execution. So, if you're with me so far, trading is a game of self-awareness. And that's the wonderful part, is that trading turns into a game of self-awareness. The only challenge is that most of us, especially if you're male in this Western society, is that we've been taught to suppress or ignore or try to control our emotions. So if you think of our emotions as that cork floating on the water, then what most of us try to do is that we try to either A, ignore that the cork is actually there, or B, we try to push that cork underneath the water to try to control it. However, if we know anything, we know that the harder we push down on something, the more powerfully it's going to push back. So we may have a lot of success at trying to hold that cork down, but eventually that cork's going to pop right back up again. So as it pertains to managing our emotions, that's the game. So what we don't want to be doing is we don't want to be bottling up our emotions and trying to keep them controlled inside. Because what will happen is that they will eventually become uncorked, and that will affect both our mindset, the way we interpret these emotions that come up, and the way we then act upon those emotions. Let's talk about the different stages of emotional development. When most of us embark upon this journey of mastering our emotions, we first begin on the left-hand side. Most of us, when we first begin, try to control our emotions because we perceive our emotions to be threatening. They often tell us things that we don't want to hear, right? So we interpret them as being negative, and they generate negative feelings. So we try to control them. We try to tuck them away, or as I just mentioned, we try to hold them tight so that they don't affect us in a rational way. As we progress in our journey and our development, the next phase is acknowledgement. We come to the understanding that our emotions are actually not something to actually be controlled or ignored, but rather the emotions themselves are actually neutral. They are neither positive nor negative, and it's simply our reaction or our interpretation of them which turns them into a positive or negative reaction. And in many cases, the emotions themselves can actually be another layer of information that we can actually be interpreting versus just the regular 5 senses of information that we typically derive from our environments. So that next step again is the acknowledgement that the emotions themselves are simply another layer of information. And lastly, for those folks who've done a lot of development and have integrated their emotions with their 5 senses, with their experience, with their trading plans and trading patterns, then the emotions integrated with those other aspects can turn into an intuitive combination, intuitive stew, which can be harnessed to make kind of second, gut type of decisions that are oftentimes not rational, but even more powerful than rational because they're coming from a strong, deep place. As human beings, we've all been wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Sort of similar to that idea of the fight and flight. As it pertains to pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain, there are really 4 core desires that we all have as human beings. And it's important to recognize these 4 and then to try to build some awareness inside yourself around which of these 4 desires that you're acting out on as it pertains to your trading. Because these four wants form the core of many of our limiting beliefs. The four core desires that you'll find, or that we all are seeking, is around control, security, separation, and approval. Take, for instance, the core desire of wanting control. Now, if you're a trader who has this core desire as your primary driver, then you may be the type of trader who is looking for certainty in his trades because you want to feel control over the trade that you're in. Until you can break that core desire, not necessarily break it, but at least acknowledge that that is what's driving you and release that deep-seated need, then your need for control may be influencing the way that you handle your winners or your losers. Those folks who desire a lot of control oftentimes will miss out on a lot of trades because trades don't set up in the exact way that they want. Or they may let their winners or cut the winners too quickly because they don't like the idea of not knowing where price is going to go. Now, if you're the type of trader who is seeking separation from their trading, or who values separation, and separation is the same thing as looking for significance or importance, then you may use your trading as a way to prove how different you are, how special you are. Unfortunately, the market doesn't care who you are. So if you're expressing this core desire in your trading by trying to always be a contrarian because you enjoy being different, then you're going to miss out on a lot of trades that go with the trend as you're always trying to catch reversals. So now you can see just how important it is to recognize these different desires that are within us, because they ultimately are reflected in our trade actions. Alright, so let's talk now about the root of our emotions and behaviors. And why this is so important is because by understanding the roots of our feelings and our behaviors, this will allow us to begin to make change, to be able to change so that we can begin to act with intentionality. Without having this basic understanding, we'll continue to act in impulsive ways and in reactionary ways. By understanding where our behaviors are coming from, then we can begin to affect these things. So our emotions and behaviors that we do habitually come from three primary forces: our physiology, our language, and our focus and beliefs, as I've mentioned already. Physiology is a very, very big one. That's basically our biology, our biochemistry. So how we sit, or how we carry ourselves, or likewise what we put into our bodies, this will affect the way we behave. Logically, if we feed our body a bunch of garbage and we're exhausted and tired because we're feeding our bodies poor substance, then the way in which we act in the world may not be the actual way that we want to act, but that's the only way our body can react. With language, language is not just verbal and spoken, but it's also the language that we use inside. So what language do you use when you talk to yourself? Likewise, what images do you keep in your mind? So this idea of visualization and what images do you carry of yourself also fall within language. And lastly, we've spoken before about focus and beliefs, but what we focus on becomes our reality. And this is why it's so important to have this strong intentional focus and to carry that forward as we carry along our trading journey and our trading plan. So we use the three forces of language, or physiology, as well as beliefs, as our fuel of choice to fulfill and meet our survival needs. So those 4 wants we talked about before, we then use these 3 fuels of choices to meet those needs. And ultimately, they create an outcome. And that outcome can be measured in 4 measurable results in the externalized world. Number 1 is our peer group. Number 2 is our self-identity. 3 is what we tend to focus on. And lastly, 4, our emotions that we carry with us day to day. Okay, now we're ready to take the next big step, and that is identifying the 5 steps which we can use to begin to make positive change around changing our bad habits or patterns within ourselves. And there are 5 steps you can take. You don't need to take all 5 steps, but each one of these steps can build on the power of the former or the latter. They are diagnosis, conditioning, leverage, peer group, and an empowering alternative. Let me give you a few examples around each one. Diagnosis. It's a very simple concept, but can cut right to the crux of the matter. Sometimes we can change our behavior by simply pinpointing the real cause of that behavior, or perhaps the real outcome of what that behavior will lead to. For instance, let's say I go to the doctor complaining of chest pains, and the doctor examines me, and after some time he comes to the conclusion that I have lung cancer because I'm a pack-a-day smoker. Now, that diagnosis will drastically change my life. Knowing that truth now, that the cigarettes that I'm smoking day in, day out are responsible for this condition that I now have of lung cancer, will change my behaviors. I will certainly second guess that next cigarette that I'm going to smoke. Likewise with trading. And trading's a little more subtle, right? Especially as it pertains to emotions and feelings and mindsets. But let's say that you've done the homework and the self-reflection, and you've come to the realization that a lot of your fears come from a fear of success. Let's say that you're the type of trader who can trade and be profitable for a long stretch at a time, but once you hit a certain ceiling, you hit that ceiling and you're unable to get over it. If you're able to recognize that fact that maybe you're under that condition of a fear of success, you have that fear inside you, then that can be the first material step towards making a change. Second, leverage. Leverage is simply understanding the downside, or actually using the downside to affect change. Going back to that example of smoking and lung cancer. Let's say after that diagnosis, I understand that it's possibly terminal. And if I ever want to see my children grow, what steps would I need to take in order to see my children grow into young adults and to adults? The first step would be to stop smoking, right? Because the downside's too great. If I don't make a material change, then I'm going to miss out on their entire lives. That pain is a deeper pain than the pain that I'm going to face by simply cutting out my smoking. So if we can create that heaven and hell condition where the downside is worse than the upside, then that again can be a very powerful motivation or motivator for change. As it pertains to trading, again, do the self-work and understand, what is this mindset or these fears or these beliefs? What are they holding you from? Are they holding you from being the true trader that you can possibly be? Or realizing the type of freedom that you want to realize to pursue the lifestyle you want to pursue? What are these things costing you? And now, what will you do to change that? Third, conditioning. Once you understand you need to make a change, it's a matter of breaking that habit or pattern. And all a pattern is an action that we've done over and over again. So to change that pattern, we have to find new, healthier patterns or habits, and again, invest in the reps, right? So do that same pattern over and over again until it becomes conditioned and becomes second nature to us. And one way which we can speed up change or even make change more prominent is by changing our peer group. It's a very popular saying is that we are the average of the 5 people we surround ourselves with. So if you want to be a successful trader or a success at anything, then surround yourself with successful people. If you're surrounding yourself with people who have negative beliefs, who have negative mindsets, who are victims in themselves and consider themselves victims, you will unconsciously carry those thoughts with you as you're being bombarded by them 24/7. And finally, an empowering internal alternative. Who do you need to be to become a great trader? That's an attitude of growth. It's a growth mindset. With the example of, again, the diagnosis around lung cancer, the most powerful change would be for me, upon that diagnosis, to change my identity from being a smoker to not simply a non-smoker, but to a healthy and vibrant and active human being. That's an empowering alternative. A human being and a father who will be around to see his children grow. If we simply turn that identity from smoker to non-smoker, that's not a large enough or deep enough empowering alternative. Because a non-smoker, by definition, is still a smoker. By definition of that word. Because the non part is simply a condition where the smoker is using will to not smoke. However, if there's anything we know about will, is that will does not last very long. And when times get difficult, will typically falls to the wayside. Anyone on a very strict diet knows how that feels when it's midnight and you have the urge to run to the fridge. So, an empowering alternative for you as a trader. Who do you want to become? What kind of trader do you need to be to reach the goals that you want to be able to reach? Whether it's financial, lifestyle, personal, or simply material. Alright, let me share with you a couple of emotional control techniques so you can begin to control your emotions and feelings. Now wait a second. What do we say about emotional control? It doesn't work, right? Control doesn't work. So actually what I want to share with you are a couple of emotional release techniques. What you should know by now is that trying to control your emotions is a futile effort. What we want to do instead is acknowledge them, welcome them, manage them, and harness them. Alright, let me share with you a couple of emotional control techniques so you can begin to control your emotions and feelings. Now wait a second. What do we say about emotional control? It doesn't work, right? Control doesn't work. So actually what I want to share with you are a couple of emotional release techniques. What you should know by now is that trying to control your emotions is a futile effort. What we want to do instead is acknowledge them, welcome them, manage them, and harness them. The first emotional release technique I'm going to share with you is a very simple yet surprisingly powerful technique called the Seddon method. It's a simple 4-step process, and you can really use it anytime. I'll give you a quick tip. One of the best ways to get started with this particular technique, and I'll give you a very simple version of it today, is to simply set an alarm to ring every, let's say, 30 minutes or 60 minutes during your trading day. And at each interval, simply take the time to stop what you're doing, step away from your trading dome, and go through these 4 steps. Let me share with you the 4 steps. When the alarm rings, ask yourself, simply, can I welcome the feeling that I'm feeling in this moment right now? And I want you to truly welcome this feeling, whether it's frustration, whether it's joy, whether it's happiness, whether it's anger, whatever it is that you're feeling in that moment, just spend a few moments and really acknowledge that feeling. That is, welcome it in for what it is. Don't try to change it, just welcome it. Step 2, ask yourself, could I let go of this feeling? Now, whether the feeling's positive or negative doesn't matter. We're just asking if we can let go of this feeling. Third, would I let it go? And for question 2 and 3, just simply answer honestly. Would I be willing to let go of this feeling? And lastly, when would I be willing to let go of this feeling? At this point, I want you to answer with the word now. And what I usually feel after running through this 4-step process is a bigger sense of space. Like I've released a lot of energy or emotion that I had been carrying with me. And I suddenly seem emptier inside in a better way. That I'm less heavy and burdened. Now, if I feel as though I still have some energy tucked away somewhere, I may repeat this step another 1 or 2 times. And if you can run through this 2 or 3 times, and it shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 minutes to do, you'll find a deep, satisfying level of emptiness, of clarity, because what you've really done here is you've really acknowledged that feeling, you've come to terms with it, you haven't tried to push it away or suppress it anywhere, and you really have harnessed what the moment was trying to tell you, and now you can move on. And the next emotional technique, an emotional release technique, which I'm going to share with you today, is one which I'm calling the robot trader. It's actually more of an exercise than a technique, but this exercise will help you create a sense of detachment during your trading day. This technique is actually inspired by Vad Grafer, who's an author and trader. He came up with this idea of the model trader. So before you start trading, spend some time during the after hours or during some time where you have some moments to reflect. And number 1, just curate all the traits that you desire as a trader. An easy way to do this is to get a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. Write down all your strengths on the left-hand side and all your weaknesses on the right-hand side. Now, take all those traits, the ones that you really admire about yourself, as well as the ones that you wish you had that are different or polar opposites of your weaknesses, and model those into the ideal model trader. This is who you want to emulate to be or wish you could become. Now, when you get to your trading day, hand off the trading reins to your model trader, which I call the robot trader. So instead of you trading at the trading dome, you're letting the robot you trade at the trading dome. You've inserted all the instructions and all the techniques and all your wisdom to the robot, and now it's up to the robot to execute. And you are simply the observer, not the director, not the actual trader. You're just the observer. You are watching the robot execute exactly as the plan calls for, with the exact same instructions that you gave it, and the robot instills all the strengths you've given it. This wonderful practice allows you to really keep a strong sense of detachment. At the same time, you can see yourself in the robot. So the great thing about this is that what I find is that I'm a lot more freer as I'm entering my trades and managing trades, as it feels as though I'm watching someone else do it. I don't have the same type of pressure that I feel when it feels like I'm the whole one carrying the team. Here, in this example, or in this exercise, what you end up seeing is that you can distinguish between you, your thoughts, your emotions, and your execution. So beautiful little practice. And for some fun, this is what my robot trader looks like. So these are the traits and qualities that I want from my robot trader. My robot trader is calm, centered, yet extremely decisive. In every trade, he knows plan A, B, and C. And once he's in that trade, he manages without hesitation or doubt. My robot trader knows no fear because there's no uncertainty. And at times he's humorous, but he's kind of got a sly and dry humor. That's always quick to laugh at himself for his mistakes. He's giving, abundant, and plays all out and has no regrets. Never afraid to take a loss, because the loss is not a reflection of himself, his self-worth, or his abilities. He's a real trader's trader. So now it's your turn. What are the qualities and traits that you wish you had, that you wish could be instilled in you? Find them and instill them in your own robot trader or model trader. So, in summary, I've taken you through a framework which will help you better understand your core desires and perhaps where your limiting beliefs, emotions, and mindsets are coming from. I've given you some tools around which you can begin to affect change in your old ingrained habits and patterns. And I've just given you a couple of techniques and exercises for you to take back control of your emotional trading day. So if you have any questions, if you want to continue the conversation, reach out to me. My contact information is in the bottom right hand corner. Happy trading. Till next time.